welcome back to another Teacher Time with Kelsie. I have a brand new story for you all today that sort of connects to what we did last Monday. So last Monday we talked a little bit about incorporating sound in our stories, and I shared a story with you that had just one sound in it that we followed. And in this story that I'm going to tell today, there's actually a couple different sounds that you can help me make while we're telling the story. So I thought it might be fun to add a few more sounds in, and one of the sounds in this story also has kind of a mystery behind it, so it'll be fun to just kind of see how it goes and how the story ends. Maybe it'll be a surprise for some of you. Some of you might have heard this story before too, so you might already know how it ends. But this story is from this book, which is one of my favorite books. It's the Bev Boss Chance Finger Plays and Stories book. And this is the one that I get the belly button snatcher from as well. So there's a bunch of really good stories in here, and a lot of stories that all of you from Little Owl really love too. So if you're ever looking for ideas of things that you can tell stories about or stories to share with each other, this is a really good place to start. And it has a lot of stories in here too with different sounds and movements that are really fun to tell. So definitely check this out if you haven't already. But for today, I'm just going to tell you the story from that book called The Ordinary Man. So grab your favorite drink, get into your cozy spot, and we will start our story. Once there was a man who was just an ordinary man who lived in an ordinary house with his ordinary family. He had a wife named Mary and two kids named Joe and Jack. And every morning this ordinary man would wake up and he'd get out of bed and he'd put on his ordinary clothes and he'd walk downstairs where he'd eat his ordinary breakfast, and then he'd head off to work. He'd say goodbye to his ordinary family, and he'd leave his ordinary house to go to the place where he worked at his ordinary job. And when he got there, he'd work all day long, and after a long day of work, he'd walk home. But one night, when the ordinary man was walking home, something strange happened. It was dark outside, darker than it had ever been, and the ordinary man started walking past a cemetery. And in this cemetery, he heard the wind blowing like this. Whoosh, whoosh. And he heard leaves crunching like this. And he heard this strange voice saying, "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." Well, the ordinary man had never heard these sounds before, so he froze and he looked around, but he didn't see anything. So he ran as fast as he could, all the way back to his house. And when he got into his house, he told his ordinary family what he had heard. But his wife just told him, "You're just an ordinary man. Nothing like that would ever happen to you." So the ordinary man just went to bed, and the next morning he woke up like every other morning. And he put on his ordinary clothes, and he walked downstairs where he ate his ordinary breakfast and then headed off to work. He said goodbye to his ordinary family and left his ordinary house to go to the place where he worked at his ordinary job. And he worked all day long, until the end of the day when it was time to go home. That night, he walked home, and you know what? Something strange happened again. He walked past the cemetery like before, and it was really dark, and he heard the wind go and he heard the leaves crunch, and he heard the same strange voice say, "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." The ordinary man froze, and he looked around, but he still didn't see anything. So he ran all the way home. And when he got home, right away he told his ordinary family what he had heard. But his kids just looked at him and they said, "Oh no, you're just an ordinary man. Nothing like that would ever happen to you." The ordinary man couldn't believe it. Nobody believed what he had heard. So he went back to bed, and the next morning he woke up like every other morning. And he put on his ordinary clothes, and he walked downstairs to eat up his ordinary breakfast, and then he headed off to work. He said goodbye to his ordinary family and left his ordinary house to walk to the place where he worked at his ordinary job. And he worked and he worked and he worked all day long. And at the end of a very long day, the ordinary man walked home. But when he was walking home, something strange happened again. It was very dark, and he walked past the cemetery. And just like all the days before, he heard the wind go whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And he heard the leaves crunch. And he heard that same voice go, "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." This time, the ordinary man froze, but he thought to himself, "If I run back home, nobody's gonna believe what I'm hearing. I have to find out what this sound is." So, instead of running back home, he decided to start walking into the cemetery. He walked. And as he walked, he could hear the wind blow. And he could hear the leaves crunch. And he could hear that sound getting a little bit louder. "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." So he kept walking. And he heard the wind again going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And he heard the leaves crunch. And he heard that same voice say, "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." But this time, he also saw a big red glowing light. So he ran towards the light. He went as fast as he could through the cemetery, and the wind was blowing. And the leaves were crunching. And the voice was getting louder. "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." So the man kept running. And the light got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until he reached it. and it was so big, and he could see that there was something below him on the ground. So he leaned over, and he looked down into the light, and you know what he saw? He saw a grill, kind of like a barbecue. And he looked even closer, because on that grill, he saw a hamburger. And the hamburger was saying, "Turn me over, turn me over, turn me over." And that was the end. Wonder what you thought about that? If you were really surprised by the ending? This story is one that I read that probably had the most surprising ending for me. When I imagined something talking, I definitely didn't imagine that a hamburger would be talking. So I thought it was so crazy that after all that, he ends up just finding a hamburger. Super silly ending. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and maybe that story gave you some more ideas of other sounds that you could make. You can use your body for a lot of different sounds and your voice, which is pretty fun. So maybe you thought of new ones even just in joining us for that story that you'll start to use in your own stories. But until then, I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time on Teacher Time with Kelsie. Thanks for joining me.